Hello friends, hope y'all are doing well. Right now I'm feeling sort of okay, sort of not okay, but I thought walking might help me feel better to get that vitamin D. I did bring my sunglasses, which I may have to change into them because the sun is kind of in my way right now, but I'm hoping I won't have to so that y'all can actually see my eyes. Okay, so I talked to a friend because I have sort of run out of topics. By the time y'all see this video, I might have come up with more. But I am sort of at that point where it's like, I don't know what I should talk about. What should I talk about? So what I am talking about today is from a friend, and that friend knows who they are. So, y'all probably remember when I was telling y'all my story about 2014. I went to summer camp in 2014, and a lot of stuff had been going wrong in my life. It was not going according to my plan. Thought I was gonna be perfectly fine. I was gonna be a normal person. But that was not God's plan. God decided to give me myotonic dystrophy. And I've had to learn God's plan is greater than my plan. Plans can be a good thing, but we have to know that our plans can change, and that's not always a bad thing. In my case, it's actually been a good thing. So, I went to summer camp and I met my counselor, and that whole week, the pastor was just talking about how we say we're Christians, we go to church, we do all these things that sort of make us Christians, or make us feel like we're Christians, but we aren't really Christians, if you know what I mean. So he sort of did 3 chairs, was the analogy he gave. In the first chair, you're not Christians. In the second chair, you go to church and you say you're Christians, but you may not really be living the Christian lifestyle. And then in the third chair, you are Christians, you are living out the Christian lifestyle, you go to church and everything that a Christian does, and you are actually saved. So I had been saved when I was 5 and baptized when I was 10, but when the pastor said this at camp, I realized that I was in chair 2 and not chair 3. So that was probably why I was having such a hard time with God's plan, was, okay, God, what are you doing? This is not part of the plan for my life. I'm not supposed to be sick. And so God showed me what I was missing. And they had a point during that pastor's talk where if you wanted to move to chair 3, you could stand and say a prayer. I'm about to pass someone, so hold on one second. Hi. So they had that time, and I didn't stand because I wanted to go back into my room, my cabin, and process everything that I had heard. Well, we ended up with our counselor from our church and our people in our cabin. We ended up going and sharing our stories because 2 people in my cabin had been saved that night. And so, sorry, I saw a butterfly, pretty butterfly. Hi. So, we were sharing our stories and it came to me and I told them how I didn't feel like I was really saved. And I had thought I was, but just with the way things were going, I didn't feel like I was saved. We ended up, I wanted to talk to my counselor who worked at the camp, and we found her, and then talked to my sister, and I decided I wanted to be saved. So, my counselor that was in my cabin from my church ended up having to leave that night. She was going out of town or something with her family. So it was my counselor at the camp and another counselor from my church that I knew kind of well. So I prayed with them and was saved that night. So I got home. Then I got tested. That's how I felt like. I felt like God was testing me when I found out I had to have surgery. Because surgery scared me. It still scares me every time I have to go into surgery. So, yeah, surgery is terrifying. So I found out I had to have surgery and the doctor was like, "Are you ready for me to stop talking?" And I was like, "Yes." So, I love that doctor, but I was terrified. I was not expecting to go into that appointment and find out, "You're having surgery." Scariest time of my life at that point. I've had more scary things happen. So I felt like God was saying, "Do you trust my plan?" My mom always says this is an opportunity to trust the Lord. That was one of the things. Constantly had to say, "Okay, Lord, I trust you." Then ask God, "What are you trying to teach me during this time?" And I have learned that I'm stronger than I think. I was able to get through that surgery with God's help. And somehow, through that, I have encouraged many other people. I have had friends who have had to have the same surgery I had. And I tell them my case was very different because I don't want them to be scared of the surgery. Because after the surgery, I went home on a walker. Normally that does not happen to the patients. Patients normally go home being able to bathe themselves and walk on their own, but not me. God again showing me my plan, not yours. So it was hard going home, and I wanted to do things myself. I like to be independent. I don't think I've told y'all that. And I've noticed my dad too, he likes to be independent. I think it's something with the myotonic dystrophy. We like to be able to do things ourselves and not have help. So sometimes we need help, but it's very hard to admit that we need help. So I went home needing help, and my mom was a nurse, so she was my help every day. And the hardest thing going home was I couldn't bend or twist, so sitting in the recliner, my mom would have to put my feet up and she would have to put them down. And that was just hard for me. It was like I want to be able to move the lever myself. So, after some time I eventually was able to, and it was like, finally I can do something. She would fix me food every day. If I needed something to drink, she would help me walk if I needed to walk to the bathroom, or we tried to get outside and walk so it wasn't just being a couch potato. That way I could build my strength back up. And I actually slept in the recliner for a good 2 months. And then when it was starting to get back to time for school, I moved back to my bed with at least 6 pillows, maybe more. Which I'm sure some of y'all probably think is crazy. I was in a twin bed with at least 6 pillows. Tried to sort of make it into the position that the recliner would be in so that I would be comfortable. So I remember going to school and we had to get my locker set up, and I was so discouraged. I could not go to school without the walker. I mean, my friends had to see me walking through the hallway with a walker, walking probably very slow, and I couldn't, because I had the walker, I couldn't, and my back wasn't strong, I couldn't carry a backpack. I had to get a backpack on wheels. And you know, it was a very challenging time. God was telling me, it's okay, you'll get through this, and surprisingly everyone was very helpful. Hi. I actually had someone who carried my backpack from class to class. That person is watching this. Thank you. You do not know how much of a blessing that was. But the first day of school, I was walking up the stairs and I just got so dizzy. Everything started to go black and I just remember sliding down the wall. I mean, it was like stairs and then it was like a platform and then more stairs. And so on that platform in between the next set of stairs, my mom was like, you can rest here. I'm gonna get your backpack up, because she would have to go back down to get my walker up the stairs. So I remember sliding down that wall and felt like I was about to pass out. I almost threw up too, probably because my oxygen dropped and my body was trying to get my oxygen back up. And we tried having someone carry me up the stairs. There was a teacher there that has really cared about me a lot. So that teacher carried me up and we tried to see if that helped. It didn't. So my oxygen was dropping even if I wasn't exerting much. So I went to the doctor. And it wasn't my pulmonologist that I saw. It was actually the person who I see now, who I love. She pulled me back to half day. She said, why don't we stay doing that for a couple weeks until you can see who my pulmonologist was, and we'll see how that goes. So I was pulled back to half day, and the school tried to have me Skype into the classes that I couldn't be there for. So, whoops, sorry, I almost dropped y'all there. And it was discouraging not being able to be there. And I was like, God, why are you doing this to me? Still, sometimes I'm like, why, God, are you doing this to me? I don't get it. What is your plan for this? And still don't know the plan. But I might be discovering it. Could be YouTube, it could be influencing people who come up to me randomly and tell me how much I encourage them. My best friend was telling me there's someone in her class. Somehow I'd come up in the conversation and the person said, "Oh, I just love Hannah. She's amazing. She's just the sweetest person ever." I have never spoken to that person, but somehow I have influenced them. So I had to Skype into classes. I ended up having to drop some classes and take a class over the summer so that I could stay on track with my class at the time, because we wanted, if at all possible, for me to graduate on time. I did not want to have to get held back. I didn't get held back, by the way.